I'm sure there's jokes on that show.
I'm kind of half hearing the conversation. I just realized what we were talking about, and yes, of course, I've seen parts of what's his name, Benedict
Benny Cummy.
Cumberbatch's. Yeah.
Oh, I should not call him that.
Don't
again.
ever call
that
him
was
that
terrible.
ever again.
Benny Cummy.
Oh my God, Nick, that was awful.
I forgot my Winter Soldier nickname, but that was fun. Old Winty.
Oh yeah, that was pretty.
Because I rewatched the show. I listened to the show, and I watched the show on YouTube.
That was pretty bad. I got a little nauseous doing all that work on our thing, so I'm gonna have to wear my glasses for a bit. But yeah, Nick, we're set.
We're not recording on Zoom yet. I don't know if that's even necessary with your system.
No,
but
recording in progress.
But
backup.
It's good to have it as a backup.
Okay, cool. Ready to go?
Yeah, man.
Do you need to give me the finger or anything, or I just start on this one?
Yeah, you just start on that.
All right, let's start.
Like 2. I got like 5 to worry about. Hurry up.
Anyway. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvel Multiverse Mayhem. With Kyle and I are here to discuss episode 2 of Miss Marvel, Crushed. Of course, we are brought to you by Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow.
God.
And we are, as always, we are coming at you from the Genreverse Podcast Network. If you found it at lrmonline.com, all your favorite streaming, music, podcast
apps.
Streaming apps. We're not on Netflix yet. We're working on a deal with those guys to talk about Disney Plus shows.
I wish.
And we're actually the official podcast of Disney Plus. And we're also on YouTube. And so, and any of those services, give us a like. Thumbs up, 5 stars. If you don't like us, don't do anything. Don't downvote us.
Nick's scared.
Ooh. So let's begin with our spoiler-free conversation about Miss Marvel episode 2, Crushed.
Sure.
How
are we starting?
Let's discuss if the show is living. I'll ask you first. Is the show? Do you feel, did it live up to last episode, which you both seem to enjoy, or is it on a crash course?
Absolutely. No, this was a lot of fun. There's one part of it that feels really, really off, and we'll talk about it in the spoiler section. And it's like, I know the context after the very last scene, you kind of get the rest of the context of what's going on. So I get the context, but it was a rough scene. And then like the scene where she's dancing around it, I told my wife it reminded me of an episode of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
I still need to watch that.
It was good. It was good after she had a date with Harvey in the first season, and it was just like one of those fun, kids that we've all had that moment where something good happens and we feel, good enough either singing a song or dancing along with something. So again, it manages to appeal to the and the whole idea of like first crushes, or not necessarily first, but young crushes and stuff like that. We've all had those experiences. So yeah, man, it's fun to see it. Like I said, they managed to appeal to a big broad audience with this big umbrella, coming of age story, and then you get to go down a layer where it's like, oh, coming of age for women, so a lot more. Women will get more out of it than say general audience, and then it goes down another layer to where it's like
turning
Muslim
red
women.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very, very layered.
A lot of
I haven't seen Turning Red, but I heard that one. I heard that one didn't necessarily have the big umbrella for everyone, but it was a big female umbrella. But I haven't.
That
seen
was
it,
kind of
so.
To be brief. That was kind of the hate from people, which I assume this show might be getting some of. Maybe not as much because it's
I don't
Marvel,
know.
where they were like, "This is only for little girls," and I'm like, I watched it, and I'm like,
I can't.
it's
I
even a
can't
period piece. It's set when I was in middle school.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. But I do know a couple people that I trust their opinions when they saw it. They're like, yes, it's very much for girls. Not that it was an issue. Just that
it
it's,
is.
You know, very much
Representation, because it's
Yeah,
it's also a cultural thing in
Yeah.
that where they're like Chinese Canadian or something.
Yeah, and this is this manages to have a bigger overall umbrella, and then all of those
additional layers to it so far. Now it could go completely girly 10, 12-year-old, Marvel fans out there, but I don't think so. It's been a very good surprise of a show. A nice palate cleanser even after some Star Wars shit.
Which I'm halfway through right now before we start the podcast. I won't get into that, even though I also have things to say. It's actually funny. When I watch Obi-Wan, I feel like I should be taking notes. And I'm like, no, Nick, you're not on the Katina. Just because you're watching 2 Disney Plus shows a day doesn't mean you have to take notes about Star Wars. But I loved it too. I thought it was just as good as the first. And I love that we're getting into the world even more than we did with Egyptian culture, which I mentioned last week. You're coming from Egyptian culture to the Muslim culture, and we're getting even deeper into this. Yeah,
we should have a little bit more Jewish stuff in there for Mark Spector, but whatever.
True, that was kind of not
there
whitewashed,
was
but overlooked.
There was some controversy there with very, very minimal representation of his faith, which is also in the comics. You would have expected at least
more than just the funeral.
Close to like Daredevil ish, at least. But anyways, carry on.
So yeah, I liked it too. The first thing I want to ask you, which is still spoiler free, a lot of people are saying this show is just for little kids. But do you really see much of a difference between the tone of this and the tone of the Spider-Man films? Him being in high school, and because I have a lot of Spider-Man questions.
It's
coming up.
100% the same. It's 100% the same.
Because even when we watched the trailers, like Jonesy was like, this looks like it's for kids. It's like, it's Spider-Man. Like the show is basically Spider-Man. If he was a fanboy.
I agree. Now it does feel like it's more maybe accessible to tweens than even Spider-Man was.
Interesting.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. Again, I'm enjoying this. So the fact that they've managed to find a balance, but I can definitely see where some people just looking at it, and it might even have some people their preconceived notions of Miss Marvel from the comics or the game might be affecting some of that. I'm pleasantly surprised, and I don't give two flying pander or inflate a grade or whatever. I'm kind of losing what I'm trying to say. Carry on, Nick.
Okay, do you want to think that's enough spoiler free?
Yeah, sure. You want to take a quick break for Grow Generation? Come back and talk some spoilers? That sounds good. Brain reset.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. From propagation to harvest, they have everything you need for your special garden. Grow Generation serves customers across the nation and carries a wide inventory of renowned cultivation brands. Go to www.growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
Man, I don't do it very often here. Thank you, Grow Generation, for sponsoring the episode as normal. I don't do it here very often, but I often come back from the commercial and like cut off the voice too early on some of the other shows that you can find on the Genreverse Podcast Network.
We'll discuss.
Anyways, Nick.
So let's get into spoiler. Well, I guess not all these are spoilers, but I really don't want to spoil any jokes or anything because there's a lot of fun. Obviously, Moon Knight made one reference to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whereas Kamala Khan is Spider-Man if Spider-Man was an Avengers fangirl. There's the part where she's like, am I Asgardian? and like
they kind of turned him into an Avengers fan.
You've told me that in the comics. I don't like that.
No, I mean even for the MCU, because he no longer became Spider-Man to be, better person before No Way Home. They retconned everything in Civil War. That whole great moment with Tony just out the window to have May say. Anyway,
well, that was just interesting difference, because I do want to talk a lot about Spider-Man this episode and the comparisons between this and that. I'm not saying it's a rip-off of that. It's just this episode especially has many comparisons. And I feel it's not like he had, Iron Man posters on his wall or anything.
Yeah.
Where it's like, here we got a fangirl of Captain Marvel, especially, but she's Avengers Con, all that fun stuff. So some of the fun references was they were talking about is like, do you have Ant-Man powers? And she's like, because we're charming and look how young we look. And it's like, that's a Paul Rudd joke. Like, that's not an Ant-Man joke. It's the fact that Paul Rudd looks like he's not literally, but looks like he's young. There was obviously a Mayan as Guardian joke. And those are the main cool references. Oh, and there's a Star Wars reference in there where he's like, have you ever seen a movie? And he's like, yeah. He's like, this is the scene where they're like, do you want to become a Jedi?
Yeah. There was another reference and I caught it and I chuckled and I was like, I need to remember that, and then I didn't remember it. Brain injuries are fun.
So one of the things I wanted to start with was how similar it is to MCU Spidey. And it's not, I mean, and that's to be expected. Their training montage is like any Spider-Man training montage from any of the franchises.
Up
expected. Maybe even Iron Man has training montages. Yeah, even on a roof. Yeah. She gets her confidence, she gets her swagger the minute she knows she has powers, even if everyone else is like, what, who is this person? And the girl she rescued is more popular. There's the fact that she's called Hard Light. Her name is given to her by someone else. It just reminds me of Night Monkey.
Yeah.
Like, again, not ripping itself off. It's just this. It feels like a very, which is why I brought it up earlier, a very Spider-Man-esque. People are giving this crap for being for young people, and Spider-Man's, they both can have mass appeal just because they're high schoolers.
Dude, you're 100% right. It's playing out very similar to MCU Spider-Man. Very similar. And you and I even mentioned a long time ago when this show was first talked about when we weren't sure what the future of Tom Holland's Spider-Man looked like, whether or not she would be kind of, the replacement for him, for that, kind of feeling here in the MCU. And I'll say we still don't know the full future of his Spider-Man, because we were told we were going to get a one more standalone team, and then one team up, and we haven't gotten the team up, and there's nothing in the near future. So either that team up is a long way away, Secret Wars or something like that. I don't know. Well, it's kind of, but I see the similarities. I like them.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the MCU Spider-Man.
And her superhero landing was even more like Spider-Man than the average superhero landing.
It was very fun.
Even though she screws up, she saves him, but she's not perfect.
And I really, really like her not having super strength and super ability without her power.
When her hand got too heavy to lift up because she was using the power just on her hand. And then, of course,
I like it.
You do have the female perspective a lot. Obviously, the Islamic culture is all over this, because, when she has the nose that is turning blue because she can't control all of her powers yet, the friend assumes she needs a tampon. Like, that's very much like the show in the movie Red.
Well, because they're in a bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah,
and they're that age. Let's see. So one of the things I do want to talk with how it's dealing about with sexism and racism to an extent. I mean, the sexism.
We're two white dudes. Right?
I know, but like this, and neither of us are Islamic, but they're trying to fight against the power where it's like, I'm running for bored of.
They're looking
yeah.
to see some change, absolutely. And I'll say bravo to Marvel, because it's a very, very tender situation to discuss Islam and women's rights. There is a broad spectrum of both, followers and even like the
like
stringentness of different mosques, different clusters. I don't know what all the terminology is from, once you go beyond, like we've got my brain is kind of messing up.
You're good,
so
dude.
so the whole thought's gone, dude.
We're talking about the mosque and kind of okay. Well, let's continue.
It's gone.
And because one of the lines that stood out to me.
I got it. Sorry. I appreciate Marvel having this conversation in there, because it is a conversation out there in those, like I said, higher levels of the Islamic faith, being brought from the, we call them congregations in Christianity. I'm not sure if of what the word is for Muslim group, but that I really do think is important. They approached it with humility. I believe they approached it like I'm sure a lot of American females that look around from not just Islam, but even other more restrictive Christian faiths. Even you can see a lot of things with certain followers of like Pentecostal churches, Mormonism, and all sorts of things. And kids are always the rebellious types that drive progress via questioning things, and they did that here. So I'm pretty satisfied from a person that's at least spent some time in the Middle East, and that a lot of things I've heard Iraqis, Kuwaitis, Afghanis discuss being discussed here. So it's kind of cool.
And one of the lines that struck me, because I hear it in interviews a lot, and other movies, where people are like, well, I didn't really fit in. And she has this conversation. She was like, I'm too white for some people. I'm too brown for other people. So I just kind of own my identity. Yeah. Ethnic, I guess the word she uses. Which, and then we even got a lot of, well, not a lot, enough for the story, some history of India. In Pakistan, which I found, and it does tie into the story. They're talking about Aisha. No, I wrote down.
Yeah, the great grandmother.
Aisha. I can't remember how. Well, I don't even know if I spelled it right, so I'm reading it as how I wrote it. But the grandmother, who seems to be the connection with the powers, because she keeps seeing her in visions, and once it does almost cost the life of the boy she's trying to save. And he still gets a broken leg rather than like a perfect Avengers save or Spider-Man swing or something. I also found it very interesting. I didn't notice this in Spider-Man, but the same cops that are back, I didn't realize they were wearing DODC shirts, so Department of Damage Control. I had missed that in Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, there's cops. But no, this is the continuation from Spider-Man Homecoming, and a team that obviously exists in the comics. I think there was even talks at when they were back at ABC of doing a Department of Damage Control, like comedy or something.
Yeah, I'm so glad that they did
it. Agreed. So I'm continuing. Here was a very interesting line that it's kind of felt like it was a hint to the Inhumans, even though they're not using that with her, where he's like analyzing her and he's like, the power isn't in the bangle, which is what the bracelet's called. It's inside
it's like
you.
It unlocked you. Unlocked inside you.
And I assume that ties back to the great grandmother.
More than likely.
And because I was wondering last week, like, is this an alien like relic that got passed down? Kind of like, they look at the 10 rings, and they're like, oh, this is like older than the Infinity Stone.
Right.
No, not literally that.
You mentioned that last week. It's a good theory. I could see how that could be a thing, or something from outer space visiting their area
And then again, we do have Egyptian gods, which we also discussed whether or not they were aliens, and they seem to be not to be, like Norse gods as guardians.
Yeah, like I said, I think Feige kind of
Hercules
gave up.
is showing up, not Hercules.
Right.
Zeus.
I think Feige kind of gave up on that whole. We're gonna keep everything grounded in science
You call
and
it
stuff.
science.
Yeah,
You call it
I
magic. I call it science.
I think he's pretty much allowed either he or Disney, him getting in charge of everything and not having to deal with Ike, allowed him to fully embrace, magic. Just it's freaking magic. So
Let's see what else. I'm continuing to like the style. Like, I love the way they do text messages. I've actually the first time I compared it to Spider-Verse, it actually feels even more like Scott Pilgrim. Like when you see like the hearts and stuff around her crush,
that's the feeling I think I got last week, first episode. Who
kind of like Gwen Stacy in Spider-Verse. This new crush of hers, Cameron. Actually, I was watching with subtitles, so I did write down the correct spelling of all this. I just don't know how to pronounce it all. It's interesting that he's almost like a Gwen Stacy, where he's there for the reason. Like, he's there and getting close to her because his mom wants to get close to her because she knows something that's going on.
Do you think that maybe they might be the bad guys then? You know what I'm saying?
Possibly.
Like, she might be after that
maybe she wants the power.
It looked like the mom was the lady that Kamala sees in her last vision before the boy drops, because she looks really, really shocked to see the lady in the back seat, and she's like reaching at her. She didn't necessarily look,
because I assumed the vision was Aisha.
Nice. I don't know. Now that's another possibility. What if, she's had a very, very long life and had this alternate family for whatever reason? That's another possibility, and she could still be the bad. I got bad guy vibes.
Yeah, I was thinking at the end. I don't think she's there to teach her anything in a good way.
Yeah, and Cameron might not be a good guy himself.
The whole episode, I was wondering why he was so interested in her, considering the age difference and the attractiveness difference.
He's a senior,
no offense.
And
he's like,
the show is designed to make you feel like she's kind of seen as not
a popular kid.
Yeah, she's
average,
Peter Parker. She's average Joe. Well, no, MCU Peter maybe, but she's not classic bullied Peter.
We actually haven't seen her get bullied at all.
No, man.
She's just a meh person in school who you kind of overlook in their group of. I love her group of friends. I don't think he's jealous, Brian, as the other guy calls him, but he's jealous of friendship. But do you think he really has a crush on her? Because watching it, I was like, this is kind of okay.
100%.
It's the first time, like, is he a gay best friend? I'm like, no. I'm like, she doesn't have a crush on him. Well, this is kind of a refreshing show to have friends that don't have crushes on each other. But
yeah.
What else? Obviously, we got to see some action this week.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of Islamic culture. We even got to see the festival, which I forgot to write the name down of. Not that I can pronounce it again.
Eid.
Yeah, that's the first part.
That's the Mubarak. Yeah.
And then, we've basically discussed the plot. It was interesting. Training montage, saves the kid, but not correctly. Damage control comes after her at the end.
Yeah.
And then she's able to escape.
That was the one thing that was kind of weird to me, and it's obvious that it's because and that's why I got the bad guy vibes from.
That's why they saved her real quick. That's why they were there.
Well, I think damage control is tracking them. So when the lady first comes in, the lady agent comes in and is all like very 2002 ish, like very, very post 9/11. I was going to get upset because I was going to point out that, once again, MCU, you've created a very, very happy, inclusive world for this to exist in. And you can't just have the government doing this type of stuff, especially publicly, because that's not the world you've created. You can't make that commentary as easily, but it just seemed like kind of a clunky hide
like we're gonna hide the reason why that she's asking these questions and make you think that it's this, just this racist, or Islamophobic type person, when in reality it's kind of out of context, and they're looking for information because there is a Middle Eastern or Southwest Asian potential threat, and they're not just.
And it's not, the race is not why she's a threat. It's like new superheroes are popping up all the time, and that's their job, is to be like,
right. But the way she came into that scene so aggressive, I was just like, that just was awkward.
It was definitely
awkward.
Good cop, bad cop. I love the male cop from this and Spider-Man or DODC. He's funny.
He was all right. He was all right, but again, it was very clunkily written. It wasn't a very well written scene. It felt odd, but it smoothed out. It's all good. We're fine.
There was one line I found very interesting, unless I misheard it, where it's like, we're gonna monitor mosques in all these different places, and after he says mosques, she's like, we gotta be careful, the FBI is already monitoring them. And I was like, oh, yeah. That's some present day America shit, or CIA, or FBI would be local.
Yeah, now that you say that line, now I'm questioning the benefit of the doubt that I'm giving them.
That line stood out to me, unless I made it up.
Because again, I'll remind everyone, the MCU is not our world, and they've created a very, very, like I said, open, inclusive. The world was very accepting of just about every single Avenger that you've seen.
It's kind of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Hold on. So you get that, and Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't have a racist government in it.
No,
remember?
It just had the culture and stuff. Yeah, just like the bank guy.
So again, it's like you've created this world, and you can't just all of a sudden have, oh, by the way, real world stuff that hasn't been a big issue. Like I said, you kind of got to approach things more creatively, which is good, to be able to approach things and commentary in creative ways, such as commenting on racism via a race of mutants. It was great, brilliant. Marvel is capable of great things, if indeed that's just DODC being abusive and racist, and you wrote it that way. It was very clunky feeling, and doesn't really fit with the MCU or the damage control people that we have met. It was just clunky. But if it was, like I said, meant to be like, oh, we've got this threat, we've got intel that the threat is like Southwest Asian, Middle Eastern, then yeah, sure, I get it. It's still
check
clunky,
for a person of that culture.
Yeah, not greatly written or executed, but yeah, that was a good catch, Nick.
That was a very strange line, I felt.
Yeah.
But the last thing I just want to say is I did write down the mom's exact line. Which was, I've been waiting a long time to meet you.
Yes.
Not just like, hey, I've heard about you. It's like a long time. I don't think she said long with that many O's, but and I hope to see more DODC in multiple movies and shows in the future, because they seem like they're kind of the shield now as far as keeping people in check and controlling powers. Where Sword is also that way, but we don't know. All we know is the bad guy in Sword, the bad actor from WandaVision. We don't know what I was gonna call him Nick Strange, Nick Fury is up to as far as his involvement with Sword.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No idea. Anything
else to say about episode 2? Crushed?
What would you grade it? Letter grade?
I enjoy it. I give a lot of things stuff that high. It's not like it's one of the best things ever when I give it A. It's just like, if it were a test, that's an A.
Whatever I gave I don't remember, but whatever I gave last week, I give it the same.
Like, entertain me, you can get an A.
It's fine.
Unless you're like not, Jurassic World, and
you're not ripping apart canon. So anyways, guys, check out lrmonline.com every day for all of your entertainment news, needs, and opinions. All of our podcasts go up there. All of our reviews,
Reactions.
interviews. Everything is available there on lrmonline.com. All of our podcasts, including the Cantina, doing Obi-Wan reviews, and then we do Star Wars news whenever we're not reviewing something. We've got MMMayhem reviews podcast doing Spy Family, which has been really, really fun. And then, of course, Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, and all of those are available on our YouTube channel. Something special is coming back on Monday, ladies and gentlemen, something from the past. So get subscribed or follow us on your app. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because all of those shows are in video format here on YouTube, as well as anyone could do one if they would take the time to learn how to use OBS.
I don't know what that means.
Trailer reaction series, the genre shots. Check those out. Any type of trailers that I catch that I have time to react to that are interesting, I do those. So yeah, hit subscribe and check all that out. Nick,
With that, Excelsior.
oh yay, enough said.